Dharma like a schedule made some. The
next teaching explains the need of urgency to engage with Dharma activities. We might have some thoughts that we don't want to engage with Dharma activities since it is not the time of death at this time. So without postponing or procrastinating engaging with Dharma activities, one needs to engage at this moment. It is inappropriate just to stay without any, just to stay inactively thinking that I will not die today. So one should not just think that I will not die today because that the time of death will suddenly come or suddenly occur, and there is no time that we will not die. So therefore the death is sudden. Therefore we need to engage with the Dharma activities. Who could provide us the protection or exception that die from this death? How can we liberate ourselves from the death? And the time of the death is very sudden. So therefore, there is no reason, or it is inappropriate just to stay happily without engaging with Dharma activities. Buddha also mentioned four ends, and here it explains the end of our birth is death, and there is other ends such as composition and separation and destructions. And the end of our wealth is also to be to be finished.
Nanche nyonte hiba le dala lava che dana tela ngaki na lami kalong gawase. Nanche tenga penche longse la sopa nyomsu nyonte. Longse la sopa longse bi dewa nyomsu nyonte hita yores. Longse hita yore dewa hita yore. Dala lava se tata mao bi longse tenga mande longse tela lapi yente chigi yana. Then got there and be and then you Malaysia. Just down a long shelter with temple making till against and there's also Lama Sanas home there to Chunchu Samado, Lovan so Cardon, Gavarse, Chogi, Majesty, Cardon, Gavarse for this.
So, in the past or until this time, we experience the material life, and also material has been ceased or is ceasing, and there is no other benefits or qualities of material other than it ceases or it finishes, and we generate attachment or desires towards these material objects. Through that way, we also transgress or violated the instructions that we received from lamas, which refers to Buddha and great teachers, because Buddhas and great teachers explain not to be attached and not to get stuck with the material life.
Tati longzere chogin sene te chuki parche tamuro se gochi. Ta zaki niki nong chogin sene chuki parche tamuro se go sunji.
So the previous verse explains that explains to prevent from the obstacles of the material objects which hinders to our dharma. And now the following verses explains to be free from the obstacles of one's loved ones.
Sansen dedong te yindu ninu kipa nampone jibu ka hinro gunan zanam zakan chirus. Sambi tsen dedong se rongi tsen dedong. Rongi tsedong, rongi lun de konga ya guguris. Te yindu nyendong hila sopa pone roni jibu ka he se kuna kono ruwa ngeba miptendo. Kono ruwi yurki ton roko pa yina. Tena zawad manzawate nyamto taban rogi yina chengo shawu pa chirite. Tena roma de konga yoya yina zawad manzawa genji chiru. Pendo mei chogin she marun sumwe.
Okay. When we are survive or within this lifetime, and also with our loved ones and our friends, meaning that our life also ends this time, and also our loved ones and friends, they also end their life, and finally we ourselves will end up going very uncertain places. So therefore, then there is no benefit or advantages to engage with loved ones nor distant ones. This teaching explains that the end of the meeting is separation. So this is the separation end.
Da shaba ngoma keji bare te won bo kanon do. Mege wale dunhan jun dele chetar nge tarki. Ninsen kendo dagine deni magi sambiri. Ju mege wayana te shaba maje yagana. Dami chozo taran roya yamaris. Lege mege kayina keti samji saw te dami do maris. Just a mege wale dunhan nebaran jumai. Megava tele, Jita never tavanju. Shabashane, condition she thought to create some, Megava Shabashi Taptela, Yensen thought dogine, Megava Shabashi Vandani, Bahi, somebody, Shabat kitchen Pushikusum.
These following verses explain the reasons why we need to purify or confess our unwholesome deeds. The sufferings arises from the cause, its cause, unwholesome deeds, and therefore one needs to reflect or ponder how one can liberate oneself from the suffering and its causes. The way how to in terms of time-wise, one is constantly reflecting on this thought day and night, and also thinking this way is the appropriate and beneficial task.
Teji kavare, kaza Hindu jige, Hindu tunda jige, le jong gurese, le de sesona, tarva togu gurese, kanese, di tunda de nombi tseva none, jungsen sung to ne gava sebare.
In Buddhist logic, there was a reputation through three reasons towards the Hindu philosopher, which posits or asserts that due to the elimination of the karma, then one achieved the liberation.
Hindu desuna le namatamche mebashe jongshe. Le chema tawana maje saba mazu le changete gewano maje dipao sheje maz le gemeke kong sheju mari tene chena te tarba tokula mi chawari.
This Hindu philosophy mentions that one should not engage with the previous action nor the future action, meaning not to accumulate any new actions, and one should not engage with either the nor the wholesome, neither wholesome nor unwholesome, and through this way one can achieve the liberation.
Nomi tamamasana 대중국 그래서 냐몬바도 냐몬비주 단진 좀바데 타빌람 레서 넘발레 좀바데 타빌람 마레스.
According to Buddhist logical philosophy, it posits that one should eliminate the self-grasping, the very cause of the afflicting emotions. In other words, eliminating the negative emotion and its cause is self-grasping is the cause, the very cause for the liberation, and eliminating the karma or the action itself is not the method to achieve liberation.
이나요 레 좀바테 좀바 타빌라 마레테요 레데 좀 구게스 데네 좀 세케바 레레 둥한 좀 그래 Chazate Jung Resum. Le Majon Dungashun, Penangan Sondon Roy Legi saw the Majona, Shavachama Nansondon Roy. Nanson and Nanson Coraje, Yarin Bongo. The college Chonchu Samba Yena town and Gontabia Mari. Chata, yes, something Tandu Nelson letters of John goes on the Kabachi.
Sure. However, we need to purify and reduce our karma or action because once we engage with a certain action, and if it brings the result of downfall experiences, then once we are in the downfall realms, then we may go through the cycle of suffering, and one may not able to engage helping others. So with intention that one wants to benefit others and not to fall to the downfall realms, which then prevents engaging and benefiting others. And this is the actual confession or purification verse that explains the actual practice of confession or purification. Due to our ignorance and misunderstanding, we engage with the natural unwholesome deeds as well as the prescribed unwholesome deeds. Not only just the ignorance, but the unwholesome deed itself and its causes ignorance, and which also brings the two other unwholesome deeds. One is called natural unwholesome deed, and another is called prescribed unwholesome deed. And so we are purifying the unwholesome deed and its causes. So the distinctions between the natural unwholesome deed and prescribed is that the natural unwholesome deed means usual 10 unwholesome actions or non-virtuous action, and the prescribed unwholesome deed refers to individuals who takes different precepts of vow, and if one is violated, or if one violates the one's own vow and precepts, and then it is called prescribed unwholesome deed.
ngan sum chana ngusu ye sambache ne ngusu gyu ye sambache di nane rong ye sambache ne lubo ge tamujar sembe du ngala di drop samji deep in there du ngala di drop samji yona yondu chantate ona de la tamche di ba karse ba te tamche hyabri is.
First, it calls the name of Buddha, saying Gombo, protector, and one is imagining that all in front of all the Buddhas, one purifies all the unwholesome deeds, and the mode of purifying is that physically one brings palm together, and also with the understanding or with the emotions of fear, the suffering and its causes. To this understanding, one makes prostration frequently, and also confesses or purifies all the unwholesome actions.
Njamba namje dag dik nomba labar zundu soro. Njamba se sanchen talam to treat on it so. Njamba sonje sonju sama namji dag so dipande nomba nyeba labara zundu so. Rong nyeba yimba rong samge zungi hegi yes never jana yos. Te chemban to soro kebita nomba labara the dog lo zumba te Rambanji chemban to soro diba kyadu sosu nyeba de sosu nyeba yimba hegu yimba what then hegi ba chemban to soro sunju.
And then the last verse of this chapter, first it calls the name of Buddha, guide of the path, that I realizes the non-virtuous deed as a fault or harmful, and I also realize that the unwholesome deeds are not beneficial. Therefore, I make commitment that I will not engage with the unwholesome actions. In essence, in order to confess or purify one's unwholesome deed, important piece is that one has to realize, acknowledge one's own mistake as mistake, and then able to purify one's unwholesome action.
Dipa Hyadu to wrong Dipa Hyaba, better no sooner than you. Sanjay Yen Dipa Hyagi Yesam, wrong Nika, Sonja to Shonju Sampi Kundana, Hyagi, some green penny.
In terms of or the mode of purifying is also that one imagine oneself and all rest of the beings are participating to purify in front of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas.
Teba Chembulam de Yena Kona Shegoya Chimbare, de Kale Kao Hirayare de Lobjong Shegu Imbare Dombuna.
The path of Mahayana has to be engaging only for the benefit of others. Therefore, it is a very difficult practice, but we need to learn how to do it.
Teba Chembu Lamte Konga Ninji Shegu Recho. Ninji Gena Londe, Samjang Mai Seguim, Desera Tebachim Church Hobby.
So all the Mahayana path or practices has to be induced through the great compassion, and with the compassion, then one helps other beings, and then it becomes the path of Mahayana.
Then Zomba Malape, Lanche Dog Yumiti, Yebala Slatu Pitopin Bari, the Ronjana Tisavo, Sigoni, Deep and then Zomba Malas, and they learned every over Yamari. Rono Gen got a chance in the Zomba Malape, the Yeba Chamburi, whichever. Lanches, Tapenche, Dog Yumiti, Young Santana, Savane. Savane Majesty to Soul Panna Majesty, Soul Tuna, Soul Tom, but Diva Majesty.
So one realizes that the unwholesome and its result are not beneficial for oneself and others. In essence, it has disadvantages or faults to all of us, and one makes a commitment to restrain from the unwholesome deeds, making pledges or commitment that one will not engage with unwholesome deed. That means that one should not engage with the unwholesome deeds despite it costs one's life. Out of 10 chapters of Bodhisattva way of life, this time we have completed the chapter of confession or purification. This chapter is called compassion because it ends with the confession topic, so therefore it is called chapter of confession.
Yeah. Sanjik choki jorwar tele yalo danye binong ngaba jesu yirong suri.
In terms of outline, we are at the preliminary or preparatory phase, and it has 7 limbs or branches, and at this time we are at the rejoicing.
Tele jesu yirong sana gewa sa dewa thotsaru jesu segyo jesu sana yirong sana gabo shepan sari.
The definition of rejoice, actually the word in Tibetan, jesu yirang, je means followed or it means followed. That means after finishing accumulation of the virtuous deed and also experiencing joy or happiness. Sorry, let me do this again. first you accumulate virtuous deed, and then you achieve pleasure by doing that, and after that, then you appreciate or rejoice, and that's the meaning of Jesu Yirang.
Jesu Yirang shesa yul sum korba ge tori chalitsa tori ge deva ti ju geva deva seru Jesu Yirang shesa sum ne.
So there are three objects of rejoicing. The first one is the wholesome deeds and pleasure of the better rebirth, and the second is wholesome deeds and pleasure of the liberation, and the third one is wholesome deeds and pleasure of the Buddhahood. So, and each of these threes will be explain their own cause, wholesome deeds, and its own results.
Samje Genji Nyansong Dungan Nasu Gavado. The two Sanche Genji Dungar Nyansong Dungan Narso Gava. Sedutanduna Tere Nyansong Michel Tori Gedeva Topi Ju Gava Shabani. Dungan Narso Sedupana Longando Tongcha Naso Jebu. The Longando Gangata Yung Muguba Choya Marite. Emi dungar nekar naso sefer tegano ye nyasone tori ke deva thoba tego nyasong dungar tane me ba sheye mare tanu korwe du korete nekar nyasong ke dungar majun kap samindu naso somai dona nyasong ke dungar tane tori ke deva thobi jurchubi gewa susao yana tele Jesu Yirang sheke his.
The first line or the second two lines, it says, virtuous deed which relieves from all the sufferings of unfavorable migration of all sentient being. In this context, when it says relieves from, it means that temporarily one relieves suffering from the unfavorable migration. In the past, I translated downfall. I meant by that. What I meant is unfavorable migration, and so when someone takes rebirth, takes better rebirth. That does not mean that one has eliminated the suffering of unfavorable migration, but it temporarily ceases and one gets some kind of rest. So therefore, the virtues which relieves from the unfavorable migration and the causes of better rebirth, and so one is rejoicing for that particular wholesome deed.
Tori Tobi Geva, Jir Mambo Yijirde. So one of the Migeva Chupon be Sutum Tabi, but Migeva Charanga Sun Chewinta. Migeva Chupon be Sutum Geva.
So, and although there are many wholesome deeds which is the causes of better rebirth, but primarily 10 wholesome deeds which restrains from the 10 unwholesome actions. So whenever we practices the vow of 10 wholesome deeds, then that is the causes to take better rebirth.
Dungar chendo der nela gawe jisirong dati revo dungar chenso ngesong song senchen nam thori ki dewala neba revo thori ki dewala neba la chauduk semba mizr semba medong ne semba gawu gone jisirong shes.
And then the root text, it says who has a suffering, that refers to 3 unfavorable migrations, and then root text also says pleasurable, that refers to the better rebirth. So whoever has reached to the better rebirth, freeing from the 3 unfavorable migration, instead of feeling jealous to them, one also rejoice and joyful towards that type of results.
Deva sangate zubu deva don samba gawa nyingde termangze ti kong le pena jude longche njorba toba henra shu deba shu de on yibare deva sang de non disu yonshis
tenam jesiras tenam jesiras
deva sangate
naso
deva sangate ludo sam ni cherwa ti tola deba nyanra longche njorba toba de konga yibare.
And when one rejoices to the pleasurable experiences, here pleasurable means physical pleasure, mental pleasure, and wealth or material, and fame and admiration. And so one rejoices all those qualities.
Shongchub jujur nimba tarba ki jonre rin. Shongchub jujur gesa ba dela jesu irong. Shongchub sena shongchub sum yara di nong temeng shongchub nimbo. Yendo dorong songje nimbo. Tobi jujur bi gewa saba. Bena nginjung. Tena tsuchim. Nginjung ki tsuchim. Di tole tosam gamsum.
And then it is followed rejoicing towards the wholesome deeds or actions which are causes to achieve enlightenment. Here, in general, enlightenment is divided into 3, but in this context, enlightenment refers to Shavaka and Pratyeka Buddha. So whatever the causes of Shavaka and Pratyeka Buddhas, the wholesome deeds, one also rejoice to the cause and the result enlightenment. Here, wholesome deed, according to Theravadan system, wholesome deed refers to practice of vows that is induced by the renunciation and also engaging with learning, reflection.
Rongjagi shongchu samche sum yeru teba chambu samche de shongchu chudu samche ba sala teba chambu samche ba shongchu du samche ba zamu de shongchu du samche ba sum shongchu chudu samche ba sala ji.
So the Tibetan word Changchuk, which means enlightenment. It has 3 enlightenments, the Shavaka, Pradhyaka, and fully enlightenment. And likewise, there are 3 altruistic mind or bodhicitta, and so there is a bodhicitta of Shavaka and Pradhyaka, and then there is another bodhicitta which is called bodhicitta cultivating spleen bodhicitta, and that refers to Mahayana bodhicitta.
Tadin level, Lujan Korvi do not never tell Lujan, Samchen, Sharon Berkeley, Lujan singer, Samchen singer, so shall I sing the Desotology way. Louis Kayinta, Lujan, Samian Kain, Samchen, so in the social dosage. Indicated of my journal, Lujan Korvi do not let. Consum Corridunga never tarry, Teba Membi, never Tovala,
And also rejoicing to the liberation. Liberation here refers to the results of Theravadan or Hinayan tradition. So rejoicing whoever achieved the result of Theravadan or Hinayan from the sufferings of the samsaric sentient beings.
Tatiba Chembu Julon Revered, Tombo, Reverie, Soviet. Jova Namji Shonchudon, Jasala Hiron. Jova Sonje, Jova Hitandata, Chut and Gain, the Jova Soviet. Jova Chut and Gain, Zubisonja, Namji. Shonchuk Chembotenon, Tatu Gundev, Naka Gundevu, Jaseg Sa, Sajuva Tovatella, Jesuiron. Teaching Jebel Naka Tatu Nishi.
Now it is followed the rejoicing to the result of Mahayana tradition. Rejoicing to the Bodhisattvas who are at the 10 bhumis, and also the ultimate enlightenment. So here the Tibetan word Gyopa refers to Buddha, and the definition of Gyopa means protection in English. It is called a protection when someone provides teaching, because teaching protects from other conditions. So in Buddhism, in terms of result, there is a temporary result and there is an ultimate result. All the 10 Bhumi Bodhisattva stages are temporary result, and then fully enlightenment is the ultimate result.
Then Tati Ju Lam Rajisirum, Lam Tele Sambano Jora Nishe, Tombo Sambala Jisurum, Semchen Tamche La Devan de Pi, Devan de Gursami, Tushi, there's Samba Shonchu Tushi, Bi Geva. Tushi de Kaji Samshana, Sanam Jamzo Tavu, Resum, Tushi Geva Jamzo Tavu, Yaba Dedon Sadu, Shonchu to Samshepa, Gevaton.
Now, the next verses explain rejoicing to the causes of Mahayana Buddhahood, and one is rejoicing wholesome deeds, which is very expanded mind, which means altruistic mind. So wholesome deed wholesome deed, altruistic mind, like an ocean. Here, ocean means that whenever someone cultivated bodhicitta, even just a few minutes or momentary bodhicitta, the benefit will be like an ocean, so immense benefit. So rejoicing to the bodhicitta which brings the pleasurable and happy for all the sentient being. And so within the cause there are two factors. One is intention and another is the application. So this we finish the intention.
Samje tamje penze la gawa jisu samje penban zeba de jorwate shongchu simbalam sama jorwate yanen se hote yinza samje la penban debi tene shongchu simbi jorwate la gawa jisu yiro.
Now it is application or engagement with the practice. Rejoicing to the wholesome deeds which benefits all sentient beings. So rejoicing to the engaging bodhicitta.
Yin geva savadon deva tapat sole chado chena tere niba chembu she jesu hirum chena sanam chembu savu.
So when we experience envy or jealousy towards the wholesome deeds and its result, then it brings unwholesome deeds. But when we rejoice to the wholesome deeds and its result, then it cultivates wholesome actions.
Sanam devu cheshun nazo kungyarsa tsam sanam sanghengi sanam tong jesu yirong shengengi shebi sanam ni rawo kungyasari den rong menda yung jesu yirong shesaka sanam che jesu yirong sanam chungwa tingawa yot yung jesu yirong sanam che yirong shesaka sanam chungwa ramu the jesu yirong ke sanam to yirong shesaka gewani gevi sanam ni nyambo karchewa nyambo kungyasari sanam danda yung jesu yirong le jesu yirong shesaka sanam chewa dong chungwa tenda kungyasari pena songje sanam jesu yirong shena songje sanam nyambo top mare tele chewa top mare tele chungwa ji top birwa.
So in terms of rejoicing and the object of rejoice, such as wholesome deeds, some rejoicing and the object of rejoice brings a similar benefit, and others bring different benefit. For example, when we rejoice the merits or wholesome deeds of Buddha, we don't obtain bigger, greater wholesome deeds, nor the smaller, nor the same, but we experience smaller merits, rejoicing to greater wholesome deeds of Buddha.
Sometimes when jig sonje guru chambu jig yen yana the seshimane tori topi danda dapne tere sanam chambu yore te yung chongju samba jig samshi sambi kun jesu yirong shena the jesu yirong sanam te chelo.
Now, if someone builds a very huge Buddha statue and the result of building huge Buddha statue usually brings the better rebirth. But if a Bodhisattva practitioner who rejoices the wholesome deeds through altruistic mind, then that Bodhisattva's wholesome deed is greater than the wholesome deeds of building a huge Buddha statue.
Sanam Yombodu Togias, Conje, the Enladamba, Congari, Tapket gets us a Kalekira Jamaguri, so Chembutsu, Liba Chembuchumi, Insudu.
So the whole all 7 limbs or branches is a very effective way of accumulating merit, because it is very skillful and it's very effective, and it is not that hardship to accumulate merit.
Jesu Yeron sang the Tor sang to the Heverede. Ludon not in Jesu Yeron, Yammer, and an Ogone, Digava Sayana, the Avoshundu, Lebo Shundu, Zombo Shundu, Teba Pupayana, the Nog Jesu Yeron sang. You Namjur Tembate, Benagavi Tamodavata, the Ludicona Jesu Yeron Sum yes.
So within the rejoicing, it has 3 divisions. There is a mental rejoicing, verbal rejoicing, and physical rejoicing. In this context, when we practice the 7 limb, that rejoicing primarily relates to the mental rejoicing. There is also a verbal rejoicing. For example, if we recite something verbally, and then if we rejoice and thinking that how nice I did this, it is excellent, and if you rejoice and admire, and that also brings the rejoicing of speech. And then in terms of physical rejoice, we experience or we present a certain type of facial expression or some gestures. For example, physically we make respectful gestures, putting our palms together at our heart, and that is physical rejoicing. And then when we respond to something through smiling, that will be also a physical way of rejoicing. So, and rejoicing is the antidote for jealousy or envy, and so when we practice rejoicing, that transforms our envy or jealousy. If we get used to, get accustomed with the rejoicing practice, and if we recite or practice rejoicing for 100 million times, then by doing that, it subdues our mind and afflictive emotions, and so it has to be accustomed, getting second nature and making it our own habit, then it can be easier.
shono kenna yu sonjele huwi namjur te kuwi namjur tamu janne huwa puju yechaba tena sonje dong sonju semba gewi kenye tabo chu metene yugen tena huwi resumba.
Now the next limb is making a supplication to turn the Dharma wheel, the fifth limb. Making a supplication to Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, great teachers of all directions, and the mode of making supplication is through showing respectful gestures, putting one's palms together at the heart.
Di danda gopade samjen dungar mandham dungar me bishir chaba yimba samjen dungar ton dungar ju timute ke longja torja hebala diversification zu diversification member table tena dungar ton dungar kono member sana diriyana yona dunga ju tigu membata nondu tam de samjeta non la chode de londor ne non seba savar seba inta dameta chuje dameta to source.
And for what purpose we make supplication, then the purpose is to dispel all the ignorance that is the causes of all the sufferings of sentient being. Here, ignorance means obscuration. Something obscures to adopt wholesome deeds or to discard unwholesome deeds. So, in order to dispel all the causes and the causes of suffering and the suffering itself of sentient being, one is making supplication to Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to light the lamp of Dharma.
Rono sanchen tam chege cheze pushene sonje tam jele chuno ji shuge som go yesom.
Here is a visualization that one can do. One can visualize that all sentient beings are making supplication with us and also making offerings. And then with this imagination or visualization, then one is supplicating to Buddhas and Bodhisattvas.
That truba sowa nebarine. Jarwan nyangen da yila kiwa pusa de jarwa to de chana lama to shongchu samba to laka channe jeten to pe laka channe nyangen len da wari yenge de no le kuku le cheba shutong de tamu janne sorwa kiwa tene tanda goba de gade sonje nyangen de sonyina jiten roan denam londor ne mandon tu londor ne la midon bata chando mi des yenan roan denno midon bisala mengeche ti chedu goba ti chedu tu che kazaji gugu sena karba chombe pan jiten ji kam dena yubar sor yuru chise sorande yinso.
So now it is the sixth limb. Sixth limb is making supplication to Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, great teachers, lamas, not to pass away. And so the object of supplication is Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, great lamas and teachers, and the mode of making supplication is through physical gestures, putting palms together at the heart. And the purpose of making this supplication is to dispel all the ignorance which is the cause of suffering. And in terms of time, making supplication to remain for the benefit of all sentient beings for countless kalpas.
Sanjay Tamche Hugh Yesa, the Guru so on the one day te Chu Chen Parchesipi, Javajun, yes, Chu Chen Parchesipi, Dipa, Jung Years, the Chuchikolokoas, Guru and so on the one day.
These two limbs requesting